Welcome back to Coffee Shop Talk. Thanks for joining us today. And just getting started, let's talk a little bit about cars. Now we've got the GM having a big deal going on right now with job cuts and getting ready for bankruptcy protection.
Yeah, well, Chrysler's already in bankruptcy.
Yes, and they're talking about 1 in 5 GM dealers going down. Now this I didn't know, that Obama has an auto task force which oversees this restructuring. So it's not like GM themselves are doing it.
To me, the bailout should have never came from the government in the first place. They should have went after to the UAW and got the money there. The UAW is the reason why the car dealerships are in the situation that they're in. Do you know how Chrysler has, I believe I seen 970,000 workers that are retired that they're still paying on payroll from this strong union that they've
Almost
had.
1 million workers.
Almost 1 million workers that are not producing anything. So no wonder Chrysler's in trouble. But they have to go to the UAW to see if it's all right if they file bankruptcy. What does the UAW care? They don't care as long as they get their money. The Chrysler people, they're the ones who have all their money invested, and they're the ones who are going to lose. The UAW is going to fight it.
Well, I know the unions were up in arms because they were being told, well, you know, you're going to have to cut salaries here and cut hours there, and they were up in arms.
Oh, the union wasn't going to let them do it, no.
No, no. And you can either close the doors or listen to what I have to say.
Unfortunately, it's the government who's taking control of the car dealers now, which we knew. They took control of the banks. We've discussed the deal with the banks. The reason why they give the money to the banks is because originally they're the ones who talked the banks into making these loans.
Right.
These bad loans to people. They didn't have to be first-time buyers. They didn't have to be anything. The government says this is a way to what am I looking for the low-income housing?
Right.
Well, anybody who went in to get a house, get a loan for a house, how much money do you make? $300,000? Oh yeah, you got to buy this.
Where's
house.
that big approve button?
Yeah, and they did it just as fast as they could. So that's why the government did bail them out with so much, because it was the government who created it in the first place. Now the government's in the banking business and they can't run their own banking, you know.
I am just shocked. I knew that the banks, of course, received billions in bailout, but I did not know the auto industry also received billions in bailout.
At what point do you sit down and you say, oh, by the way, we lost $1 billion last month. Should we do something about it? You know, what kind of business people are these? And the government's not going to be any better. The government, they're just used to just spending money just as fast as they can get it, or as fast as they can make it.
One last thing I wanted to say about the cars, the dealers getting bailed, the GM and Chrysler's getting money from the government. Common man talking. Would you have bailed them out?
No.
And you know, I've asked people about why they would bail them out, and they keep coming back to the military.
What does the military have to do?
Well, I guess they build plenty of vehicles for the military. And, you know, I think that's fine. If the rest of the plan has to go, fine, keep the military. But to bail them out like that is just, what is our deficit going to be like for our kids?
Well, they expect it, what is it?
Like you said, they're
$10 trillion in the next 10 years. Well, where's that money coming from? Let's just make it. You know what happened to the good old days?
We got plenty of paper.
You had to have gold to back up the money. That went out the window gazillions of years ago. You know, and
well, yeah, someone would think from the government, well, that's a stupid question. You know, but it's a very good question. Our money was backed up by our gold reserves.
And a lot of people do not know that.
No.
They do not know.
Well, they don't need to know it now because that's not true now.
Isn't it strange how things are going on? It's the government, Obama's doing this and he's screwing up this, and then all of a sudden something comes out, Miss California has nude photos. So all this gets pushed aside and everybody forgets about it.
Well, yeah, they're going, oh, thank God Miss California came along.
Yeah, because nobody talks about it. Well, it's the same thing when it came out. One of the biggest backers, or one of the biggest money givers to both Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. came from Afghanistan.
Right.
And so the war didn't go to Afghanistan, it went to Iraq. And now we're going to have to go into Afghanistan because everybody's saying that's where it's all about.
You know, I can't really remember what the approval rating for George Bush was around the time that he said mission accomplished. I can guarantee you it's higher than it was towards the end of his presidency. But yeah, I agree with you. Should have been mission accomplished, get out of there, and we need to concentrate on Afghanistan.
But what leads into this when you said, you know, with the automobiles and everything, this is the first war that I can remember, and because I've only been involved with a couple with Vietnam, and which Vietnam was another one that we never won. We should have won, and you know we screwed up there.
And people don't like to talk about that.
No, they don't want to talk about how bad the American government screwed up there. But then there was the Korean War, World War I, World War II, this war, that war, everything else. This is the first war I've ever seen that we're spending more money to create to keep this war going than
to finish it.
Because what I'm getting at is back in the time, war meant good business for a lot of business people.
The country was working.
The country was working. They was making the parts for the tanks. They was making this. They was making that. Who's making all that stuff now? And who's pocketing the money? So what's going on here?
Where's Rosie? Rosie the Riveter.
Rosie the Riveter. Who is making all the money on what's going on?
You know, I don't know. And another thing is the poor guys that went to the Vietnam War and they came home. And you know, I'm a veteran. I'm all for the troops, and you know I want nothing but the best for them. But when the Vietnam War ended and the soldiers came home, you know what kind of reaction they got, right? It wasn't a hero's welcome.
And why?
That's my question.
Why? I mean, now we're back into patriotism again, and if you come home from Iraq,
58,000 Americans died over there.
You're a hero. Yeah, you're a hero from Iraq, but Vietnam that went on for 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is, I don't understand. It just.
And we've got plenty of those soldiers from Vietnam War, probably well decorated soldiers, and they're living out in the streets.